private money can be used for any kind of real estate. It can be used for multifamily, which it is a lot. It can be used for single family. It can be used for mobile home parks. It can be used for land, right? It's all the same money. It's just a matter of how do you structure the deal.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
For more than 20 years, Jay Conner has been a force in real estate. He's rehabbed over 500 homes, completed over $100 million in transactions, and averages more than $80,000 in profit per deal. But it wasn't always that way. After the 2008 crash, his bank cut him off, forcing him to reinvent how he financed deals. What he discovered was private money, and within 90 days, he raised over $2 million without relying on credit, banks, or personal guarantees. Today, he's known as the Private Money Authority, working less than 10 hours a week while teaching thousands of investors how to raise capital the smart way. Jay, welcome to the podcast.
Leo, thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk about what I'm so excited about, and that's private money. The reason I'm so excited about it is because of all the strategies that we use in our real estate investing business. Private money has had the biggest impact, had the biggest change of everything we do in our business. You know, when I started raising private money all the way back in 2009, Leo, I have never missed out on a deal, a real estate deal, for not having the funding very, very quickly to close. And, you know, I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to miss out on a deal, because prior to 2009, I was using lines of credit, you know, from the bank and mortgage companies, and I would have to pass up on deals because I didn't have the funding. But because of private money, never miss out on a deal.
Wow. That's really great, because financing is always a tough piece of the puzzle to put together, right? I mean, it's like getting together loan packages and like raising capital and all that stuff. I mean, like doing many deals myself, I know it's not easy. So kudos to you to making that happen.
Wow. You know, what you just said reminded me of this, Leo. I'm going to take a little risk, okay? I'm going to take a little risk. I'm going to ask you a question. I think I know the answer, but we're getting ready to find out. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard the guru on stage teaching real estate investors, you know, real estate investing, single family houses, whatever? And the guru says, just get the deal under contract. The money will show up. You ever heard that?
Well, yeah. They say if you have a good deal, the money will come, but that's so far from the truth, because that's one piece of the puzzle. First off, like, how do you know if it's a good deal or not, right? I mean, chances are if you're starting out, you're like, who knows? Like, you're missing out on a lot of things when it comes to underwriting. And then second is like, do banks trust you? Where's your track record? Do investors trust you? Like, what surety do you have on execution for them, right?
You know, and in addition to that, the guru may also say sort of what you just said: money finds good deals, you know. And, you know, Leo, that's the most stupid thing in the world I've ever heard in my life. It's like, you know, you get a deal under contract, and I've heard this from so many new real estate investors that followed that advice. They went and found a deal, they got under contract. I mean, just imagine how stressful is that to go and try and find the funding. You got a contract on the deal, and you don't know where it's coming from. So I practice. I mean, what's going to happen? Is like a drone going to fly over your house and drop a bag of money on your front porch because you got a deal under contract? Of course not. It just seems, Leo, to make so much more sense to me to get the money lined up first. I teach, I practice, I coach my community. Get the money lined up first. Look. There's always going to be deals. There's always going to be deals. And the fact of the matter is, there's more money than there are deals, really.
Definitely.
Prior to COVID, there was $18 trillion in cash just sitting on the sidelines. Since COVID, 2020, there's 31 trillion sitting on the sidelines. So there's so much money. And so I focus, I teach, I practice, I coach. Get the money lined up first. And then, I mean, just think about it. How much more confident, how many more offers are you going to make when you got 500,000 or $1 million burning a hole in your pocket? Of course you are. Of course you're going to make more offers, right? So
Yeah.
Don't listen to the stupidity, is what I say. Use common sense. Let's get the money verbally pledged, ready to go. You got it, ready to go. And my lands, go make your offers. I make my offers.
I agree.
In 7 days.
Right. Because when you're looking at a deal and there's the common saying that commit now, figure it out later, to some extent that is right. But it does put a lot of pressure on you to figure things out in a short period of time, which may not always work in favor of everyone. Because if you're thinking from an investor's perspective, right, if they have like 30 days to make a decision on if they want to invest, that's like pressure for no reason. To the extent that you can set people up ahead, tell them what you're about, the product that you offer, and get them to buy in, then that's great. Because then you can go to a broker, a bank, to let them know, like, hey, like, these funds are ready to go. Like I can close on this deal. Brokers want surety of closing, not some guy just running around like his head's on fire to try to figure this thing out. I've definitely been there. So
yeah. One question that I get, Leo, from real estate investors that are either seasoned or brand new, they'll say, Jay, how do I start? How do I start raising private money? And my answer is the first thing you got to do is own the real estate between your ears, meaning get the right mindset. So, 99.99999% of people walking around, when it comes to borrowing money, they think, and I did this as well until 2009, they think that whoever's got the money to loan is the underwriter. They think whoever's got the money to loan makes the rules. That's all we knew. That's all we know. You go to the bank, you go to the mortgage company, you go to the hard money lender. By the way, private money is not hard money. Very different. Hard money is typically a broker that has raised private money and then loans it out, and now they make the rules, high interest rates, origination fees, etc. And so that's our thinking. That's all we know. But when I learned about private money, I turned it upside down and I went the opposite direction. Instead of thinking that whoever's got the money sets the interest rate, sets the frequency of payments, sets the length of the note, etc., guess what? Now we, as the borrower, we are our own underwriter. Instead of applying for a mortgage, look, if you're listening to this show, I got great news for you. You are already approved. There's no approval process. There's no application process. What are you doing? You are offering an opportunity. That's what you're doing. Instead of someone trying to, match or make the criteria that the lender's making, you're just offering an opportunity, right? And so here's the mindset. Here's the mindset. Put on your teacher hat. Think of yourself as a teacher. My teacher hat says private money teacher. That's what my hat says. That's my thinking. You see, I've got 47 that are funding my real estate deals. And you know what's interesting? Not one of them ever heard of private money or private lending until I taught them about it. None of them ever heard about self-directed IRAs, how they could use their retirement funds that they already have and move over to a self-directed IRA company and then loan that money out to us. And the interest that I pay them is either tax deferred or tax free, depending on the type of retirement fund they have. So there's no chasing, there's no begging, there's no selling, there's no persuading. It's all about serving. It's all about exposing people to the opportunity you have. And another big secret sauce, Leo, is separating conversations between the opportunity and then having a deal for them to fund. You know, if you are talking to, and by the way, all these people are ordinary people. We're not looking for rich people. We're just looking for ordinary people that have lazy money. Well, what is lazy money? Lazy money is that money is not working for the owner of that money. We're going to pay them a higher rate of return safely and securely. And so separating the conversations is so important. You know, if I were to talk to somebody in my own network, and all 47 of these private lenders that I have, I already either knew them or they were referred to me, somebody that they knew. And, you know, here's a quote: desperation has a smell to it.
Sure does.
Desperation has a smell to it. So I separate the conversation of here's the opportunity. Here's what I pay. I've been paying my private lenders 8% ever since 2009. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I put them on the insurance policies, the mortgagee. We don't borrow unsecured money. It's all asset-backed debt. We give them a deed of trust here in North Carolina. Most states call it a mortgage. And so we share what the opportunity is without having a deal yet for them to do. Because if you talk about the opportunity and the deal, two things are happening. Number one, you're asking them to make too many decisions. The opportunity and the deal. The second thing is you already sound desperate without even trying to sound desperate. If you're talking about the opportunity and a deal, so we separate that. Just talk about the opportunity. And then when they love it, and they do, say, look, I'll put your money to work for you just as soon as possible, and I'll let you know. And then, Leo, you know what I do? They love the opportunity, and then I call them up with the good news phone call. I want to share with you, Leo, and your audience right now, and then I'm going to hand it back to you. The exact script, exactly what I say, and I get my deals funded 100% of the time, every time, all these years. So here's the script, and here's the setup. So Leo, there's a couple of assumptions that we need to do. So first of all, let's assume you and I have known each other for a while. We like each other. We know each other. We trust each other. Let's say we go to church together, whatever. And let's say I've shared with you my private lending opportunity. You love the 8% because you're sick and tired of only making 3% or less at the local bank. And let's also assume that you've got a 401k retirement fund at an employer that you're no longer there. You've left the employer, that K is still there, and you're not liking the returns or the volatility. Let's also assume I have introduced you to a self-directed IRA company that you can move that K over to with no tax effect, no penalty, and the interest I would pay you is tax deferred. So let's assume you've moved that over. Let's assume you got $150,000 in that retirement fund and you've moved it over. So that's happened. That's the backdrop. Now here is the good news phone call, exact script. I call you up. We have a little chit chat. And then here's exactly what I say. Leo, I've got great news for you. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house in Newport, North Carolina, under contract to purchase for $200,000. That's the after repaired value. Now, the funding required for this deal is $150,000, which matches up to what you have at the self-directed IRA company. Now, closing is going to be next Friday. I'll need for you to wire your funds to my real estate attorney's trust account next Thursday, the day before closing. I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. That's the end of the conversation. Now, the most stupid thing I could say is, Leo, do you want to do the deal? Of course, Leo wants to do the deal. And here are 3 big reasons why Leo wants to fund my deal. Number 1, for goodness sakes, Leo trusted me to move his $150,000 over to the self-directed IRA company. He did that. Number 2, Leo knows I'm not going to bring a deal for him to fund that doesn't match the criteria of the underwriting that I already taught him. One thing I would have already taught Leo is that I'm not going to borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. I told him in the phone call, the after repaired value is $200,000. The funding required for the deal is $150,000. That is 75%. By the way, caveat, I bought that house for $100,000. I'm bringing home a $50,000 check when I buy, without taking any of my own money to the closing table. Right? But Leo's going to be protected, because when I renovate that house, there's a 25% equity cushion. Now, the third reason Leo is so excited to fund my deal is he's not making any money in his retirement account over at the self-directed IRA company until I put his money to work. That's why the good news phone call script gets your deals funded 100% of the time.
I like that. Appreciate you walking it through, Jay. So how long are the cycles, like with the homes, like when you repair it, closing to like?
It depends on the disposition. It depends on the exit strategy. So if I renovate it and rehab it and turn it into a brand new, beautiful home, then that's going to be about 9 months to 12 months from start to finish. Buy it. It might sit there for 90 days before my contractors get there to renovate it. And then it might take 3 months, depending on the renovation, to get it brand new, put it on the market in the multiple listing service. It depends on how fast your market's moving. On the other hand, if I sell it on lease purchase or rent to own, then that might take 18 months to 2 years. So the length of my notes mostly are 2 years. But here's the interesting thing, Leo. The private lenders don't want their money back. Like, I call them up, I tell them I'm cashing out on a deal, and they say, can't you just keep the money? No, I can't keep the money unless I've got a property that can collateralize that note. Now, I do a lot of substitution of collaterals, also known as a loan modification. Now, if I've got another deal I'm going to close on within the next week, or I have another property that's got a lot of equity, I'll keep the private lender's note open and keep them earning interest. And then I just substitute the property that is collateralizing the note. But yeah, they don't want their money back.
Interesting. So the way that you do it, it's not directly, so they're not on the deed. They're lending the funds to your company, which then purchases the property. And then the note that's like on the insurance is paying like, call it 8%.
So think of the private lenders as the bank. The private lender is the bank. We give them the same protection, the same security as if we were going to the local bank or a mortgage company. So the private lender does not own any of the property. We're not doing partnership equity. We're not sharing in the profits. We're paying a straight 8% interest to the private lender. So it's our company that owns the property, and the private lender is the bank.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I think that actually is a pretty compelling win-win. I mean, they get to be the bank. You get to save on closing costs, right? I mean, the diligence isn't as crazy with like private investors as opposed to like a bank who wants all these third parties and stuff like that.
That's right.
Makes sense. And do you mostly do it for single family homes, or like do you do it for other types of properties as well?
That's a great question. Private money can be used for any kind of real estate. It can be used for multifamily, which it is a lot. It can be used for single family. It can be used for mobile home parks. It can be used for land, right? It's all the same money. It's just a matter of how do you structure the deal. So, for example, if you're going to do multifamily, then you're going to get a private placement memorandum, a PPM, and private lenders or investors will invest into the fund. In single family, there is no fund. In single family, it's all what we call asset-backed debt. You have a private lender, or maybe two or three. They have their own promissory notes, their own deed of trust or mortgage, and a property is collateralizing the note, right? That's why the SEC does not regulate what we do with single family houses, because it's asset-backed debt. Not raising money for a fund. Don't have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, what all the different gurus teach, in order to pitch them on your opportunity. In this world of single family houses, as I just went over, there's no pitching.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what your relationship is or was with the private lender, because it is asset-backed debt.
Interesting. And I mean, let's just say like you were to do it for a mobile home park or like a commercial property. Like how would you go about setting that up?
I would set up a fund, right? I'd get an SEC attorney. Now, a lot of people out there say it's going to cost $15,000 or $30,000 to get a private placement memorandum. I got a SEC attorney that can put your private placement memorandum together for $6,500. But anyway, you're going to need, at my recommendation, by the way, I'm not an attorney. I never played an attorney on TV. I'm just telling you from my experience and what I know, that you would get a private placement memorandum and get investors to invest in that fund. And then you use that money for your mobile home park project.
Got it. Yeah, that is interesting. And Jay, walk us through like your sort of operations now. So you have this method of getting sort of private lenders, so to speak, to fund your single family renovations. So do you do the renovations yourself? Is it like another operating partner? Like how is your team set up?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So when I started out years ago, I got my own crew. I still have them. I got 6 guys. Depending on the magnitude of the renovation, they'll either be working on one house or 2 houses simultaneously. And then I have 2 other general contractors. And each of those general contractors can be working on 3 houses simultaneously each. So I can have 7 or 8 renovations going on simultaneously. You know, if I am renovating them to turn them into like a brand new property, you know, looking fantastic. And so my advice to someone that is starting in this is use a general contractor, right? I was very fortunate in being introduced to the guys that I use on my own team, but general contractor starting out, that's the best way to go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you don't have that sort of domain expertise, you want to just hire experts. You want to do the job right. That way you can have more jobs to come, right? So spend it until you know how to do it. you learn from every vendor conversation anyways. But I think to the extent that for you specifically, Jay, I mean, you wanna be finding deals and making deals. You don't want to get into the nitty gritty and like planning all this stuff. Like the delivery, the operations is like you have to get it right, but it doesn't drive a lot of
Yeah.
value, right?
Well, I was speaking at a real estate investing event a few years ago, and one of the attendees said, Jay, I just love doing the rehab myself. I love doing the work. I love doing the renovation. And I looked at them and I said, from my perspective, here's what they told me. They said, it's like therapy to me. Doing my own renovation is like therapy. And I looked at them and I said, you know what? From my perspective, anybody who does their own renovations and rehabs needs therapy.
That's great. I love it. So I do think a lot of people, they sort of fall into that trap, right? They want to do things themselves to make sure that the things are done right. That ends up taking them more time. Maybe there's costly mistakes as well that they'd be on the hook for. So, I mean, the smart move is to get a good team in place and just to run everything with good systems in place, right?
Yes, 100% for sure.
And how do you set up your systems to manage everything?
Well, that's a great question. Automation. So when I started out all the way back in 2003, I tell you, Leo, I was the most disorganized mess in the world. I was trying to do everything myself. I ran this company off of Post-it notes. I had Post-it notes everywhere. And so thank goodness I wised up and I found a great CRM, customer relation management software. And so now, like, I've had the same acquisitionist, Kim Burnett, for 20 years. 20 years. And she talks to all of the motivated sellers. Kim and I never talk. We never talk. It's all in the software. So when, like, for example, the lead comes in, maybe it's a Google lead. I got 7 different vendors that have Google ads running all the time. And somebody goes on Google and they're looking to sell their house fast or quickly for whatever reason. Then the lead comes in, it automatically goes into our software. And then we got AI. Thank goodness for AI. Her name is Bailey. My AI assistant is named Bailey. And when that lead comes in, Bailey immediately texts them and says, hey, I'm Bailey, Jay Connor's AI assistant. May I ask you a few questions about your property? And so the AI Bailey gets all the answers to the questions, and then that is automatically notified to Kim, my acquisitionist. So then Kim calls them up, gets them on the phone, and now Kim confirms all the information. And then I get a notification of how much they're asking for the property. Then I go into the software. I automatically send it to our realtor, one of our realtors, to give us the opinion of the after repaired value. That comes back automatically notified. Then I decide if I want the team to go look at the property and give me a budget sheet on repairing the property. They go out and look at it. Now the repair budget sheet is sent to Kim. She puts it in the software. I look at it. Now I've got all the information I know as to what offer I want to make. I got the after repaired value from my realtor. I've got the repair renovation budget sheet. I use my formula, my calculation as to my maximum allowable offer. I put that in the software. That goes to Kim. Now Kim negotiates it with the seller. So the system is all wrapped around the software that we use, communicating with each other.
That's interesting. So what software do you use for the AI?
So Marla Harmon is the owner. It's a small boutique company called REI Software. And I plug all of my mastermind members that are in my mastermind group into using Marla because she and her software is amazing.
Okay. And is that for specifically like single family, or could it just be like a general sort of like inbound lead responder?
Oh yeah, she customizes it to whatever business that you're doing.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think it's super important to use AI, especially for small businesses like us, right? It allows us to just compete at a much higher level and do much more with our time while keeping the team very lean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my entire team, I've only got 5 people on W-2, right? I've got me and my wife, Carol Joy, on W-2. I got Brenda, my office manager, on W-2. I've got Ashley, my executive assistant, on W-2. And I've got Kim, my acquisitionist, on W-2. All the other team members, well, I mean, we use virtual assistants. I mean, my lead manager that makes sure none of our leads fall through the crack, her name is Trixie. She's been with me for 7 years. She's on 1099. And so it's a very lean team making things happen.
Very interesting. So you use this system to basically raise millions of dollars, right? I mean, you've raised like 2 million in just a few short months. So what do you think has been the most effective part of your system that was like an aha moment when you're setting this up that you're like, other people were doing this wrong?
The most effective strategy in raising private money is not asking for money, which is so counterintuitive, right? You think you got to ask for money. You think you got to pitch deals, but it all comes from being a servant, having a servant's heart. My 47 private lenders, they never heard of this world until I shared it with them. And, you know, one thing that real estate investors think, or they say to me, they'll say, Jay, you know, I got a fear of rejection. And I answer that with a question. How can you be rejected if you're not asking anybody for anything? You're simply sharing an opportunity. You're sharing a world that they haven't heard about. And when I go into a conversation with a new potential private lender, I've only got one intention. I've got one goal, and that is to leave them more educated, giving them more knowledge than they had before we started the conversation. And that's it. That's it. There's no stance of coming from desperation, right? You are giving value to people that you talk with.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a fundamental shift. I think a lot of people go through. I mean, I've gone through it myself. You know, initially you're like, hey, you know, when I have this deal, how do I put it together, right? How do I piece together the capital, like, and asking people for money. But rather, I think when you're into it for a long time, you've gone some sales, purchases, you know the process, you're offering opportunities to people. You're like, hey, look, I've been crushing it with my deals. I've made my investors a lot of money. I mean, you're welcome to join if you want to, if it makes sense. And here's sort of the high levels of it.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. So how do you find most of your investors? I know you mentioned it's through referrals. Like, do you reach out to people? Like, what's your system like?
There's 3 categories of where you find private lenders. The first category are people that you already know. They're in your cell phone, right? They're your contacts. I call it your warm market. Those are people that you go to church with, you play golf with, you play poker with. I mean, who are the people that you regularly see every week? Your coworkers, you know, that's your warm market.
Mm-hmm.
The second category is what I call your expanded warm market. So if you want to scale your business, you're going to run out of your own contacts sooner or later. So how do you grow your network? I mean, of course, we all know there's a direct correlation between your network and your net worth. We know that.
Definitely.
So how can you grow that? I highly endorse Business Networking International, BNI.
Mm-hmm.
Even in little old Morehead City, North Carolina, 8,000 population, we started a BNI all the way back in 2006. And so the way BNI works is it is a referral organization. All the members in the chapter are referring leads to each other. So I've gotten millions of dollars from my fellow BNI members referring potential private lenders to me. The third category of where you get private money is in what I call existing private lenders. Existing private lenders. These are, by the way, when I talk private lending, I'm talking ordinary people. We're not looking for rich people. We're looking for ordinary people like you and me that have investment capital or retirement funds that they're just not happy with. I mean, I got a retired school teacher that she and her husband taught school for 30 years, and she's got $1,200,000 with me.
Wow.
In retirement funds. She's an ordinary, person. But anyway, the third category are existing private lenders. Now, existing private lenders are different. First of all, where do you find them? Well, did you know 70% of account holders of self-directed IRAs want to loan you money? They want to loan real estate investors money. They want to be a passive investor. So self-directed IRA companies have networking events on Zoom and in person. You can go to those networking events. But there's a very, very important caveat that I must mention about having a conversation with an existing private lender. You are not going to put on your teacher hat to an existing private lender. They already know what private money is. They're already loaning it out. And so what are you going to have is a negotiation conversation with existing private lenders. You're not going to be offering an opportunity. They already know what it is. Some existing private lenders are happy at 8%. Some are happy at 10%. And some won't even consider anything less than 12 or 14 or 15%. I'm not talking to them people, right? So that's why I much prefer to offer the opportunity to people that have never heard about this world.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think there's a balance between what works for quote unquote the marketplace versus what works for you. I think the world is huge, right? I mean, you have these big funds, like they have to be competitive by offering these crazy terms, but for you don't need that much, and you need to make sure that you're taken care of as well. I think there's a counterintuitive point that, investors, like experienced investors, like they typically like to negotiate and stuff, but they forget to ask, is this worth your while? Will you take care of their investment? And they just focus on the other things and they miss out on that. That's why they get into some bad deals that just, they get the best terms, and then look, the person doing the deal, they're not invested into it. They don't care. So it happens.
I agree.
It's definitely an interesting system. So when you're talking to these investors, you're reaching out to them, like how do you stay top of mind? How do you keep them warm? That way, when the conversation comes, they're like, Jay, so nice to hear from you. I love this great news. Let's do it.
Well, when I get a new private lender that hasn't done business with me before, they go to the top of the list, right? So I have this thing called the queue. Now, my minimum investment that I allow or do business with is $50,000. And I don't even like that much. I'd much rather have a minimum of 100,000, but I'll accept 50,000. So that's one of the first things as a new capital raiser you got to decide, because they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you what's your minimum to start. They want to get their feet wet, right? And see how it goes. So you got to decide what's your minimum. But when I have a new private lender, I put them at the top of the list to where when my next deal comes along, I'm going to put their money to work. I want to show them right away that I can deliver, that I can, invest their money. So in addition to that, the other investors, it just depends on how much money they got to work with.
Mm-hmm.
People, I mean, I've got some private lenders that have $50,000. I have some private lenders that have over $1 million. So it just depends on the deal that comes along as to what I match them up with as far as the funding and the deal.
Gotcha. Yeah, very cool. I do agree. Like a lot of people, they want to just test the water, see, have like an appetizer before they decide to go more. Initially they'll go like the minimum just to test it out. And sometimes you really just don't know. Like, are they just going to be in it for the minimum? Is this a lot of money for them versus
Well,
like,
Leo, what you just said reminds me of this, and here's a
yeah,
fact.
yeah,
They always have more than they tell you. They
yeah,
always have more than they tell you. And I'll tell you, let me share a strategy right now on how to easily and effortlessly raise more private money. When you pay off one of your private lenders, let's say you cash out on a deal. When you pay them off, you call them up, you say, hey, I'm getting ready to cash out on 411 Chatham Street. You're going to have your payoff check coming to you along with your interim interest. When you get the check and you deposit it, would you like to add any more investment capital to that for your next deal? Very simple question. Because you've already proven to them that you're paying them the interest. They like the returns. And that's one of the best times to ask, would they like to add any more investment capital to their, to doing deals with you when you're paying them off?
absolutely. Well, Jay, thank you so much for all your wisdom so far. I think your system, your ideas make a lot of sense and bring value to a lot of people. How can folks get in touch with you? What kind of people are you looking to meet? How can we help you?
Yes, thank you so much, Leo. So I'm looking to make an impact. I'm looking to make a difference and share with real estate investors. Maybe you're brand new, maybe you want to get into real estate investing. And one of the most popular questions, Leo, that I get is, how do I start conversations? How do I start a conversation with a potential private lender? And so I have recently written and boiled down 11 different scripts, private money scripts. I call it my $1 million private money script conversations or scripts. And I'd love to give your audience the very first script, which is called the Curiosity Opener. The Curiosity Opener script. And your audience can download it. It's a PDF. It's absolutely free. You can download it at www.jayconner, and I'm an ER, not an OR. So www.jayconner.com/scripts, and that's plural, jayconner.com/scripts. And that will give you the very first script of the collection right there in your email. So do take advantage of that. And then you'll be in my world to learn all of the kinds of things about private money.
Excellent. Jay, thank you for all your wisdom again, and appreciate you joining us.
Leo, thank you for having me. Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/moneyguide. That's jayconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.